Now, though, let's talk body language. Keir Starmer heading across the pond this week for his first big meeting with US President Trump since he returned to the White House. Emmanuel Macron was there yesterday, and I'm sure you've seen this by now, but well, it's just well worth watching if you haven't seen it yet. There's an extraordinary meeting between the two of them where they meet outside the White House. Donald Trump shaking hands very firmly with Emmanuel Macron. Neither of them want to give way. They're pulling, they're squeezing. There's patting on the back. They're touching each other's elbows. It's all in there. It's like sort of wrestling in very expensive suits. And then inside the White House, Emmanuel Macron then even corrected Donald Trump, interrupting him, putting a hand on his arm at this moment during a press conference.
Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money. To be clear.
There he is. So what is the art of physically touching your political opponent or ally, depending on how you see Donald Trump? Well, Paul Boross is a business psychologist and body language expert, exactly who we want. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Matt. How are you?
I'm very good. Give me your expert assessment of the endless touching between Macron and Trump.
Oh, well, it's basically come down to one-upmanship. It's about who controls who. It's very, very simple. Trump frequently adds an arm pat or a subtle control move, and Macron does it back to try and keep the balance. And it's less of a handshake and more of a competitive game of you're it, from school days. And this sometimes sort of greeting morphs into sort of like half embraces, which are part camaraderie and part combat. It's very, very bizarre. But it's all about that 10 seconds on the news where who looks like the strong man.
So, given that Emmanuel Macron, they were talking about this on Five Live Breakfast this morning, someone was pointing out, Emmanuel Macron has been head of state in France now for 8 years. He's been around the block many times with Donald Trump, and they clearly see themselves as, equals in the handshaking department. Keir Starmer is newer to this game with Donald Trump. What would be your advice to Keir Starmer when he heads to the White House this week? How much touching should there be?
Well, I think in body language strategies, Starmer is a much more measured and composed man, and that's his style. But really, he has to go in to expect the unexpected, both probably literally and psychologically. Trump's body language is very theatrical and unpredictable, with all those handshake, yanks, shoulder pats, arm pulls, and, sudden withdrawals, which he does a lot. Starmer, being naturally measured and, let's face it, more methodical, needs to mentally and physically brace himself. I mean, I think of it like the pre-flight safety announcement. In the event of a Trump handshake, assume the brace position.
And is it to not, if he is intimidated anyway, and he's a shyer, quieter man, Keir Starmer, has he got to sort of put that to one side and sort of, like they say, if you're performing on stage, go big?
I don't think he will naturally fit into the go big attitude. I mean, he has to stay grounded because Trump thrives upon throwing people off balance, both metaphorically and physically. So really, Starmer has to not let him dictate the tempo.
Yeah.
He can go in first, set the tone. Trump always dominates by initiating the first contact, whether that's the handshake or the first words or the first gesture. What Starmer can do is seize control early to prevent being steamrollered, really.
And is there a risk of going too big? I mean, maybe Emmanuel Macron just about got away with it yesterday. You don't want to do something that ends up looking silly.
No, it's about pacing and leading, really. I mean, any good business person will tell you that your first job is to actually pace the person in front of you, get some rapport with them, walk in, with a deliberate pace, I would say to Starmer, maintain strong eye contact, and smile slightly, but not too much, because, Trump respects confidence, but not over-eagerness. So it's that fine balance, really.
Very fine balancing act. Well, it'll be fascinating to see how it all plays out later in the week. Paul, really good to speak to you. Paul Boross, a business psychologist and body language expert, with some advice for Keir Starmer.